This is Elaine Bennis as always. B Loco right now is not with us. Haven't seen him online all night, so he may not be with us for the show tonight. But so flying solo tonight, and we have a couple good friends here in the chat. We have Dr. Pastor Kenneth Fishman, and yes, indeed. We also have Ashley. We have a couple other friends here, so that's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be a good show tonight. Anyway, TJ Hooker asked what my lesson was about. So yeah, before the show, I was talking to the chat about. I was just planning a lesson for my U.S. history students. Tomorrow's lesson is going to be on mercantilism in the colonial America in the mid-17th century. So how the colonies interacted with England in terms of trade, and how the Navigation Acts of the mid-17th century cemented England as a world power in terms of trade, and helped their shipbuilding enterprises as well. So that's going to be a lot of what we're talking about. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about Charles II and the restoration of the English monarchy at that time from Oliver Cromwell, and the founding of New York basically the winning of the colony of New York from the Dutch, and its renaming from New Netherland to New York, and its position as a major port for the colonies as well. So that's basically what tomorrow's lesson is going to be about.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, right now, because I'm currently filling in for their regular teacher who's on leave until late November. So right now we're just going through the textbook and just like what I'm trying to do with these guys. Like the sophomores are a little bit more difficult of a class than my seniors. The seniors are all like they're college prep honors kids, so they're all like really good at what they're doing. Sophomores are a little bit more of a challenge, but from what I've been doing, like today we did a lesson on Puritanism versus Quaker religions, and they got kind of interested in that. So I think just like continuing through this chapter of the book was basically what I'm going to be doing for this week, and just taking it like sort of like chapter by chapter and helping them like with their assignment for each week. So that's basically my goal at this point.
Well, it sounds like you got a good game plan going on.
Yeah, I've been like my first week subbing for them. It was a little bit tough because like the only assignment they had was some book work that was going to be due the next Monday, and a lot of them were kind of like blowing off their class time because I figured they would just do it at home. But other than that, like they're basically they're doing pretty well. Other than that, because like now that we have like sort of like this like daily sort of like guided lecture thing going on, and I collect their notes at the end of each period just to see like where they're all at and when it comes to that. So that's really coul. And as for TJ just said, are you sure you're teaching high school? It sounds like a dual enrollment college level thing. This is actually like just regular level sophomore year U.S. history, and the textbook we're using was actually originally written as an AP high school textbook and as a college textbook. But this is sort of a more brief for just like general high school edition of it, so that's basically what we're working through right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I have for my other, so that's just one of the classes I teach. I also teach a couple civics, sections of civics for seniors, and I also teach a IB, history of the Americas, and those are like that's like a college level class. Like if the kids in that class this spring do well enough on the IB test for that, they can actually get college credits. So that's like the really advanced kids. Those are my seniors.
Okay, yes, that's for the overachievers and the advanced people in your classes.
Yeah, those are the IB level. That's like the gifted and talented kids in the school, because the school I teach at is actually a vocational high school. They have basically they have the IB track, and then they have the vocational tracks as well. And those are the kids that are in like the regular level courses.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I was as I was actually writing the listen, I was listening to the show. That was a really enjoyable show this evening. Like I think you had a lot of really good callers. It was some good stuff there.
Yeah, I think it was pretty interesting. We had quite a diverse crowd tonight.
Definitely, it was good to. I mean, I know there were some technical issues with the echoes and everything, but that it happens sometimes, and I think it added at least a little bit of humor to some of the listeners, so that was cool.
Yeah.
So Ashley, I noticed you're in the chat. Say hi, Ashley. Oh, assuming your mic is working. Oh, now we got you.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
We can hear you.
I didn't have too much to say.
Okay, that's no problem.
I think Yeah, I want to try it again. Or like Saturday, I think I want to try and do it.
Okay, cool. That'll be cool here. Like, yeah, like if you want to do, yeah, if you want to actually talk in this Discord, yeah, that'd be cool. I'm not gonna be here Saturday night because I'm actually having a movie night, but yeah, I'll definitely, if you want to stream it somewhere, send me a link and I'll listen to it.
Yeah, so you could stream it now. I was looking for.
Well, what happened to your room, Ashley?
Not enough people are joining, so then I have a text channel on here, so we can post stuff. Well,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
cool. Yeah, that's cool. I can help. Like, if you need help setting up like a YouTube account to stream, we can do that. I think I'm gonna keep the Inner Circle Radio YouTube channel like kind of exclusively for this. But again, if you need help setting up like an Actually Talk one, I can definitely help you out with that.
yeah.
All right. So we have brand new Serial in the chat. So with us, actually, I just realized we're all in the waiting room. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much whether we're in on air or the waiting room, but whatever. So yeah, welcome to ICR, brand new Serial.
What's up, Elaine?
How's it
Thank
going?
you.
Yep. Let me just check to see if we have any subscribers really quick. We do not, but that's all right. We actually have. We are up to, I think, about from our total number of views on the channel up to about 360. So that's 360 views total. So that's pretty good after only a month. So, or actually a little bit less, I think, than a month.
Yeah, that's not bad at all, really.
Yeah, I mean, we're just starting off, so that's going to be that's really cool. That's we have even this small following at this point.
I don't know.
So
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I've been hearing rumors as of late in the Slaughter Brigade that Tony is going to be back for a show in October, I believe either the 13th or 14th. I think I was hearing this from Don Cornelius.
Yeah, that's the rumors I've been hearing too.
Okay.
Yeah, it does come from DC too, but I mean, we don't even know if he's just taking a hiatus, but it just looks like he's taking a hiatus until then.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, like, he does kind of deserve a break. He's had so much stuff happen in his personal life lately. You know, he's had, I mean, even the past year, the guy's had car accidents, a serious breakup. He's had friends die. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy for him.
Yeah, and like the four, I think the 3 or 4 shows before the tribute shows, Tony's balls were getting busted harder than usual, from Dolly to Rico to Jesco, and all he was doing was rage quitting. You can tell he was really upset every time he started another show at the next week or two.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was getting to the point where like pretty much every show was lasting an hour because like usually either Sully would call in or Jesco would call in, and that would just like push him over the top and just make him quit.
Yeah. And with all that stuff going on in his personal life, he just ends up just starts doing a show, and you can tell he was just really upset. Like, I can hear it in his voice, and it's like, man, this guy kind of needs to take a breather, but then all he does is just take phone calls, and it just makes it all worse.
It just makes him angry. Yeah, it really just like infuriates him.
Luis Jago's been MIA too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, basically, he's got to learn not to let the callers get to him. You know, I mean, it's like me. You know, I just shrug them off. You know, I mean, okay, you're an echo caller. Okay, goodbye. You know.
Yeah, that's what he should be doing. And I see how Ken takes these troll calls, and he just kind of just dumps them off the air quick. But then Tony, he just entertains them by screaming at them and tries to teach them a lesson, and it's like funny but also very depressing at the same time.
Right, he feeds the trolls, and that's a big problem. I mean, even like summer to fall of last year in 2018, when Beanie would call on, this was back when they were on bad terms, like he would dump Beanie immediately because he was basically just banned him from the show at that point because of the bomb threats. And at that time, like, you know, he wasn't tolerating trolls as much back then as he is now, and I'm not really sure what happened to change that.
I'll give you a worse one.
Go to hell. I like it.
I'll give you a worse one because I was listening to the best moments from Insane Energy, the part 5, and that's where I had the recent Sully calls, and then Tony. It was a recent episode, and Tony picked up Sully's number again because Sully called in earlier, and then Tony got rid of him, but then he only put him on mute, and he thought Sully was trying to call back in, and then
that's
he
what happened.
was like,
yeah.
And then he basically just picked up Sully, and Sully was acting like he wasn't intended to call in. He was like saying, "You just picked me up, you fucking idiot," and then got into a real argument. And it was kind of like Tony's fault for picking up Sully again because for the first time ever he memorized the guy's number. Then he calls him back, and then Sully busts his balls even worse, and then he rage quits off the fucking show.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
And like, here's the thing, like, when was the turning point? Because, like, I mean, Sully had a segment on the show for a while. He had another trucking story, and like, what was the turning point? Like, I mean, I'm sure I knew about this at the time, but it's been so long that I've forgotten. What was the turning point that basically turned Sully into Tony's enemy? Like, was there like a turning point at any time, or was it just like Sully just acting so intense and vulgar on the show? Is that what it was?
Well, yeah, Sully started being a little vulgar, okay, and plus Sully called in as a guy named Vinny. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
He busted his balls about getting beat up when he was a kid.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was Sully.
No, I also remember they were like friends for a while, like Elaine said, and Sully's cat died or something, and so Tony had Sully co-host the show, but I think Sully got shit-faced drunk, and then he started slurring and going all over the place with all the other callers, and I think he started cussing out Tony or something, and I think that was kind of like the first phase of it. But I don't know where it got worse. I think Pastor Ken's on that one for that one, you know.
Well, yeah, it just started to implode, okay, between Sully and Tony. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like people play recordings of me, okay, to Tony Gaga, okay, and he thinks it's me talking. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not. Okay, it's recordings that have been picked up in the voice chat. Okay. Right. So.
And I was listening to, because I've been re-listening to the show, because I can listen to Tony's episodes on iHeartRadio now on my phone, so it makes it easier to just re-listen to all the shows. And there was an episode where Tony mentioned back in like 2018 why he can't like distinguish certain voices right away, and I think that kind of contributes to a memory issue. Like, he mentioned that when he was younger, he had like an accident where something blew up in his ear, and he has like some kind of hearing.
Yeah, it's
problem.
Like tinnitus, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and then I think it kind of contributes to why he can't like remember voices on the show. So when a particular caller calls in, he starts asking who they are, but sometimes he'll recognize the voice, but other times he won't.
Right. Ashley Aceto.
That's where he starts. That's where the whole issue starts coming in, you know.
Yeah, because you're right. He did mention he had a hearing problem early on, and that's why he can't like. That's why it's easy for people to just like masquerade their voice or something. That's why you know, when someone does like different voices, like, you know, like you mentioned earlier, Sully and Vinny, like that's like, it's not too difficult for them to get away with that because Tony is none the wiser.
Yeah, and there was I just like how there was just a long period where Tony couldn't recognize Jesco for a certain time in certain periods.
Yeah,
and there was like this one. But there was this one time where Jesco did call in, and he actually carried a conversation with Tony without even mentioning his name. It went on for like 2 or 3 minutes, and they were just talking about video games up until Jesco revealed himself, and then Tony had to kick him off the show for that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Really funny.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Do we know who? Because I know like when Joshua Higgins was calling in like September and October of last year, there was another character called Moisha Higgins who was like supposedly his like grandpa or great uncle or something.
Oh, his
Yeah,
dad.
His dad, yeah.
It was supposed to be. It was supposed to be his. I thought it was grandfather.
I thought grandfather too, but do we know who was the one calling in as that? Do we know who the voice of Moisha Higgins was?
No, but I do remember that guy called back in, but then he wasn't calling in as Moisha, but then he was calling in with the same voice, but then he called in on a recent show a few months back, and I remember listening to the best moments where his voice was on the phone, but he didn't call in as Moisha, so he's like a character caller, but he uses the same voices and but different names.
Okay, yeah, and TJ Hooker said it was the same guy that did Father Chianti, so yeah, he'd probably know.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters on the Tony Gaga show, and if I keep going the way I'm going to get a lot of characters too.
Yeah, because I know Mike Hunt called in earlier, the personal trainer, and he's called in to Tony before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is, do we know like what happened to Barry?
Barry, the last I heard, okay, is Tony really went into Barry, okay, and told him to never call a show anymore. He really tore a new one into him. Okay, so I think that's what happened to Barry.
Okay, yeah, because I know didn't Barry also call into like some later episodes of Clay Douglas?
Probably.
Yeah, because
I mean, he didn't call in recently, but he did call in this year. He just doesn't call in much anymore.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think he did call in like early 2019 a few times. But because I know there was like a little bit of overlap in terms of like some of the callers from like the very later episodes of Free American were calling into the early episodes of Tony Talk, because there was like that fan base that existed between the two at the same time. Like you had Joshua Higgins, you had Longfeather calling in as well, and there were some others I can't recall. I think Barry was one of them also.
Yeah, Barry was one of them.
There was Steve that called in between Clay's show and Tony's show.
Was that the guy who was claiming to be Clay's agent?
His producer,
producer,
probably the best
right, yeah.
caller on Clay's show, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I remember him now. Was he the guy who was setting up the meet and greet?
Yeah, he was like setting up the meet and greets, and then he was always calling in at Clay's show saying that he can't be talking about this or that, and then that's where Clay would really lose his shit. And then when he started calling into Tony's show, because I was re-listening to the episodes, he was trying to offer his services as a producer and get control over this whole T-shirt situation that Barry was orchestrating, because there was that little saga where Barry was selling Tony's T-shirts and merchandise and all that.
Yeah, the masturbation tents, yeah.
Yeah, and plus it had my face on some of the T-shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was just nonsense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And
Steve disappeared off the show pretty quick.
Yeah. And speaking of T-shirts, there is actually, I think I mentioned this on the last show, there is actually Inner Circle Radio merchandise now. Those of you who are watching the show on YouTube can check out the link in the description. It is teespring.com/stores/inner-circle-radio. Those of you in the Discord, I will post the link really quick.
I think there's a link already there.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, okay, that's right. There is a link in the description also, yeah. Yeah, there's the store right there, and we have a few designs for T-shirts, and we have mugs and stickers as well. So if you're into that, incidentally, anyone that does buy merch, we've decided, BD and I talked about this the other day, we're going to split the merch income 4 ways. It's going to be between myself, Beanie, J-Bo, and Uncle Tony. So you're actually going to be funding, and you're in a way also going to be funding Tony Talk if you buy those shirts as well.
Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah. And we might work on like other like logos and designs too. I have to talk to Beanie about that, but it would be cool to like have like a line of like Inner Circle Radio merch that we could do. And depending on like how I can get in contact with J-Bo, he may even be able to convince Tony to sell some Tony Talk merch on that store. So that would be cool also.
Where is J-Bo?
I haven't heard from J-Bo in a while. He was in actually this Discord very briefly at the beginning when we were setting it up. I actually think I marked him as one of the hosts. But he messaged me a while back and said he just needs to like take some time off from like the whole Tony Talk thing because he was like getting calls, he was like getting messages about it on Discord and elsewhere just constantly. So he wants to take a step back for a little bit.
Damn.
Yeah, so I think I haven't really seen if he's been online for a while because he usually does have his status like always set as offline or do not disturb or whatever. So I mean, I'll try. I guess I'm gonna try messaging him in like the next day or two to see if he's like or we're still around or anything.
I mean, he does have a family and a career going, so I mean, that might be one good reason why he's staying away too.
That's fair, yeah.
But I think
he's having to travel for the pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been waiting on him to like say something if he had an update with Tony, but then he hasn't been around for ever since the tribute show to Higgins. So I thought that was pretty odd, but
yeah,
it's pretty apparent there's just a huge hiatus going on and nobody's saying anything about it.
Right. I wonder if some of the reason that there is a hiatus is because Tony's mad at J-Bo for doing another show on his account.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Because I mean, it's not like Tony Gaga did another show, so I don't even think he even really knows.
That's true. He might not even be aware because, like, if he really did take an extended break, then he might not even be aware. I'm gonna see if Donnie Baby is online somewhere because it would be good to get his perspective also. But yeah, I'm just gonna check really quick because another good thing is that yeah, because he would be the one to know probably better than some of us whether this is like what the reason for the hiatus would be because it seems like he may have been in contact with him.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if he can't give us all the details because there's probably a lot of private matters that can't be disclosed.
Yeah, that might be the case.
So, I miss Tony.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it would be good to I guess I kind of do miss Monday nights with Uncle Tony and then everyone all of us just like congregating in the voice chat afterwards. You know what? It kind of reminds me almost of like the sort of like early to mid 2017 period when there was still like a public Discord that Ghost ran because that's basically what it was like. Like there would be like upwards of 100 people sometimes in the Discord all listening to the show and then we'd all just like pile in the voice chat afterwards.
Yeah, but Tony Talks and this little Tony Talk thing is just small and tight knit, so it's just small and tight knit.
Yeah, I mean, even there was one point where Ghost was getting like 50,000 live listeners a show, and he's like, this was back when his Twitter was still up, and he was getting like tens of thousands. I don't know if it was tens of thousands. It was definitely thousands of followers on his Twitter when it was still up.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, now that he's off of YouTube and on Vaughn.live, I really doubt he gets more than a couple hundred per show nowadays for live listeners.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surprised he didn't go to Blog Talk.
Ghost was on Blog Talk for a long time. He started the show back in 2008 on Blog Talk and continued it there until about the mid to late 2017, and he left because this was around the time the Spreaker bought Blog Talk Radio, and they got rid of the monetization thing that Blog Talk used to have, and that's why he left.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, because his account for years was Blog Talk. What's that, Ashley?
he got upset because he couldn't make it anymore.
Yeah, he couldn't make any money off of it. Even when he was making money, like it really basically was tip money at one point. He said that one time his the money that he made off the show was equivalent to like the manager at a Whataburger. Like that's about how much money he was making at the time. Because I think there was like a time where he was making something in the neighborhood of like $2,000 to $3,000 a month off of the show on Blog Talk Radio.
Well, I mean, I know they have a thing where if you allow commercials to come on your Blog Talk Radio, okay, you can make money from the commercials.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was doing too, because I remember listening back in like 2016 to some of the shows in the archive, and there were ads. Like there weren't ads live during the show, but when they were archived, when the show was archived, then they would put in ads like every 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. I mean, man's got to eat, right?
That's true. You know, man does not live on crypto profits alone.
Of course, but I don't listen. I tried listening to Ghost once, and I barely made it through 2 minutes. I can't do that show.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
It's not for everybody, you know. Like I used to listen to it a lot. Like I first discovered it in like 2014 on some of some of the people that were re-uploading the show on YouTube, and like his initial run was from like 2008 to 2012 when he took a few years off because he was afraid that the feds were going to get to him, because he said that he like claimed that he was having like black helicopters near his condo, and that he was seeing ice cream trucks outside, like parked outside his condo in the middle of winter. So according to him, that's why he stopped doing the show for so long.
Yeah, if you start seeing ice cream trucks in the middle of winter, okay, I guarantee you that's cops.
Yeah. Although, I mean, like a lot of us honestly believe he was exaggerating that, although he did say in like the summer of 2016 that he was approached by two guys from, I believe it was Homeland Security. What was that?
Double did this show.
Yeah, so, in like the summer of 2016, he and his wife were having breakfast at a Mexican restaurant in Austin. Yeah, he was in Austin at the time, so that's where he was based for most of the show on Blog Talk. So he was with his wife having breakfast at a taco bar, and two people claiming to be from Homeland Security approached him and asked him like about the show. And apparently there were a couple of cops, after they talked to him, they and also when the Homeland Security guys talked to him, he like mentioned that one of them took a chip, dipped it in ghost salsa, bit into it, and then double dipped the chip to sort of like establish dominance, and that like really like sort of set Ghost off. So after that happened, well, this was when they were still at the taco bar after the Homeland Security guys left. Or actually, no, they were still there. So Ghost called the Austin Police Department on them, and apparently they had like a conversation, like the Homeland Security guys had a conversation with the APD and showed them some paperwork. And the APD guys said that, like, told Ghost, like, confirmed that they were actually Homeland Security and that the paperwork was official. So, like, he was actually planned to do a show. I believe that, let me think. I think that was a Monday when that happened. Usually that was when he was doing shows. I think actually at that point he was still doing shows 5 days a week. So the day, like, he hadn't done a show that week, and he sort of like alluded to an incident that happened with Homeland Security on Twitter. The following day he does a show and explains the situation and goes on like an hour-and-a-half long rant about Homeland Security and how he felt like they were thinking of him as a terrorist, and he just absolutely went off, particularly on the fact that they double dipped a chip. Like that became a running joke on the show for years as a result.
So wait, I mean, I don't listen to Ghost, but what was he talking about that's fueled all these events that's been happening to him and to this show? Like, what's he been talking about?
He talks about, well, some of the things he was talking about in 2016 is that he became sort of notorious for doing this on Twitter. He would dox people a lot, particularly he claimed to have doxed all of the GOP delegates leading up to the 2016 election to ensure that none of them, because he was so pro-Trump at that time that he like threatened to dox GOP delegates that wouldn't fall in line and declare for Trump at the convention.
Yeah.
And he also, like, he was so, like, he got so much into this, he declared 2016 to be the summer of digital chaos, and he declared himself to be General Ghostler in the meme wars. I wish I was exaggerating, but that's literally what he did, to the point where he called his followers the Ghostler Youth. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. He got so much he got, like, ridiculously, like, into this persona in 2016, and, you know, I should see if I can get Insane Energy in the voice chat, because he was around for all of this, and he would know a lot, he would know even more about this than I do, so let me see if I can get him in the chat.
Right. That's nuts.
Yeah, it really was. Like, I was never in the inner circle, unlike some of the people in, like, Insane was for a while, but, yeah, I was never, like, really involved, like, closely into that, but some of the stuff, TJ Hooker. Yeah, some of the stuff around there was getting kind of crazy. And by the way, I believe that actually was a shirt that Ghost sold on his former Gumroad page.
I mean, because, I remember Insane Energy telling his short stories about breaking away from the Ghost fandom because they all started impersonating each other, started impersonating Insane Energy, and then a whole bunch of internet shitstorms about the community started coming out. And for Ghost to be pulling all that conspiracy theory, doxing bullshit that he's been going, that's enough to just get a whole fucking fan base to get all riled up and out of control.
And it did kind of happen. I mean, even as early as, like, 2011 and 2012, he was openly calling for military generals to declare martial law and stage a coup against Obama. Like, that's honestly, like, that's, like, just how, because this was around the time in 2011 where he changed the name of the show from True Conservative Radio to True Capitalist Radio, where he just got even more insane through that. It really got kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad I missed that, because I would either fell into that or I just, like, listen to it and then just leave and just forget I probably fucked my ears over just listening to that nonsense, so I'm glad I missed it.
Right. I mean, I discovered the show in, like, the interim between him leaving the first time and then coming back in 2016. And when the show came back, I was astonished to even learn that there were people that took him seriously in the first place. Because, like, I would assume that this was just, like, some random, like, not very popular host on BTR that people discovered and started prank calling. As a matter of fact, if I can find the clip for it, I can play, like, a very early clip of his from, like, 2009, just to give you an example of one of his rants. I'd have to look for it, but I can probably find one.
Yeah. Ooh.
I hear he was something else. Yeah, he was kind of like, he was supposed to be worse than Clay.
Oh my god, yeah, like, I would say, like, Clay is worse in some respects. Like, Ghost was never, like, a Holocaust denier or anything like that. He was never, like, really overtly racist or anti-Semitic like Clay was. But in terms of, like, his, like, very, like, radical views on capitalism and those sort of things, then I would say in that sense he was probably worse than Clay. Yeah, and like TJ Hooker said, like, Ghost never believed in, like, shapeshifters or anything like Clay did.
Yeah, shape-shifting squirrels.
Yeah. Shape-shifting squirrels and aliens. Like, Ghost never really, like, believed in aliens. But here's the thing, I don't know too much about. I like remember when this was happening, but Ghost, if I remember correctly, doesn't believe that space is real.
Wait, he doesn't believe in space is what?
He doesn't believe that space is real. Like, he believes that NASA. First of all, he denies the moon landing happened. Secondly, he believes that NASA is a complete fraud and that all of their equipment should be sold off, should be auctioned off to the highest bidder, and the whole agency should be abolished. Yep, and as TJ Hooker said, whenever he was questioned about the moon landing, he said it was nothing but Nevada.
I can believe the moon landing was faked. I can believe that, but I mean, saying that space isn't real, I mean, that's kind of a mouthful.
Yeah, I mean, Insane would know more about this than I would, again, because he was in the inner circle for a while. He'd probably have a better understanding about Ghost's views on that.
Yeah. Sheesh.
Okay, I think I might have to re-download the clip. Basically, there's a clip, and this is the one I'm going to play in a few minutes once I get it re-downloaded, is about, oh, let me think. Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's from about 2009, where he was talking about how certain parts of the world had, like, a lot of, like, were internet capable, had electronics, but still didn't have indoor plumbing. And it's basically him going off about that. I'll see if I can find the clip. Okay, so I found the clip. I'm not exactly sure when this originates from, but I know it's when he was broadcasting as True Conservative Radio, so it's from like 2009 to 2010, sometime around then. I think it was uploaded in like 2009, I think, so sometime around then.
Right.
Let me see if I can find this here. Well, that's 1 second, guys. Okay, let me see if I can get this here. Okay, so yeah, I just have to download the MP3 for it, and I'll be able to play it on the air. 1 sec. So, how's everyone's day been going so far?
Great. How's your day?
Peaceful.
Yeah, my day's been fine. Yeah, classes today were pretty good. Yeah, especially the seniors. Like, they're all like, since a lot of the seniors are a lot of the smart ones, they're pretty much like on autopilot. Like, I don't have to do much other than like supervise and make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, because they all like know what the work is, and they all know they gotta do it by a certain date. So that's cool.
Nice.
Alright, everyone. You can I'm going to bed.
Alright, I'll see you later, Ashley.
Okay, good night, Ashley.
See you, Ashley.
Bye.
Alrighty, and then there were 4 if you include TJ. So here we go. I think I just about have it. I just have to switch over the inputs to the virtual mic.
Well, well, well. It's Rico.
Alright, I should have it here. Okay, so this clip is called BTR Ghost Rages at the People Without Toilets. Let's take a listen.
I told you the story on the last program about an entrepreneur out of Asia who's investing in the worldwide toilet market because he understands in the developing world out here in the international community, 2.6 billion, with a B, 2.6 billion people do not have proper sanitation or a proper place to take a dump. They don't have a proper place to take a dump, for heaven's sake. But, and let me tell you, you can look on Bloomberg News where I saw this guy being interviewed. It was one of the greatest interviews by a foreigner that I've ever seen for a while. He sat here and said, but what's really unfortunate about these 2.6 billion people that don't have proper sanitation and don't have proper crappers in their shacks or, you know, their mud huts or wherever the hell they live, these people still have plasma screen TVs. Yeah, yeah. They still have computers and internet connections and all these stupid little Chinese-made technological gadgets, but they can't even buy themselves a damn toilet. They can't even buy themselves a damn toilet. And what are they doing? They're watching their little plasma screen TV. They're watching their stupid little computer, and they're crapping and they're shitting. They're taking a dirty diarrhea shit and piss every time they eat, everywhere they eat, because they don't want to buy a toilet. They don't want to buy a toilet. They don't want to buy a freaking toilet. No toilets. I mean, even a freaking dog knows not to shit where it eats. I don't mean to bring that up again, folks. But once again, I just wanted to re-emphasize that this whole idea of ridiculous, mindless, emotionally impulsive gluttony is not exclusive to America. It's not only exclusive to America, it is a human nature. It is a human phenomena. I am starting to accept that, believe me. And the bad part about it is there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting things. There's nothing wrong with wanting the finer things in life. There's nothing wrong with wanting to go out and live lavish. But the thing is, folks, is if you're going to sign your name on the dotted line to get loaned money from a financial institution, or if you're going to take secured debt, when I talk about loans, I'm not talking about these asshole, dumbass credit card companies. Screw those bastards. All right? They sent you a card, they took a risk on you, and even if you made those idiots 2 or 3 years worth of payments, they made more than what you owe on that card in interest. So that's their risk. That's unsecured debt. For all you business majors, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about secured debt that's backed up by our savings accounts in the bank. Yeah, every time you're getting paid, why do you think that they're forcing... I don't know if you've been taking a job nowadays, but they're forcing you to get direct deposit. Haven't you noticed that? Yeah, they're forcing you to get direct deposit. There's no more cutting checks. There's no more liquidity. You can't get your paycheck in cash. I mean, you damn near have to give a piss and blood sample at the bank to pull out a couple of $1,000, for heaven's sake. They want to direct deposit your paycheck in the bank because they want to loan it out. They want to loan it out because our economy is based on consumption. 70% of the GDP, the gross domestic product, is consumption. So that's why they're forcing you idiots to go and direct deposit your paychecks. That's why they're only leaving that as an option, because the bank needs your liquid. It needs your employment to pay for all this ridiculous nonsense that these stupid, irresponsible losers took out on our names. God. Oh, my head hurts. Oh, my high blood pressure. Oh. What? Oh, my head. My head hurts. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Oh, my head. My damn head. Why am I doing this to myself? These people don't care. These people don't care. These people don't care. Christ's sake, because I'm sick. I'm sick to my stomach. I know that I've got about 4 or 5 ulcers in my damn stomach because I'm burning a hole in my damn intestine because I can't believe that you damn idiots don't care about America. You don't care about America. This piece of crap youth out here, this piece of crap youth doesn't care about America. This piece of crap youth doesn't care about themselves. They're useless. They're useless. Are you useless? I'm talking to you, youth. I'm talking to you. Are you useless? Are you just some stupid dumbass Adam Lambert, American Idol worshiping piece of Hollywood going this piece of crap?
Okay, that's pretty much most of that clip there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's something else.
He is, and yeah, maybe on like
He blew up for poop.
He did indeed. And at the end he sounded kind of pooped himself. But anyway, you know, on the next show, like I could make that kind of a regular feature on this show, just like playing some like Ghosts, like greatest hits, and we just like discuss them because there's a lot of things a lot of you folks don't know about. I haven't even begun to talk about Mass Pony, who had a My Little Pony diaper fetish and would write fan fiction based around that. And the meltdown from Ghost was almost at that level. It was very close to that, and that was in like 2016.
Wow.
Yep. So yeah, there's a lot to know about Ghost. There really is.
But did he take callers?
Oh, he did. Yeah. As a matter of fact, at the end of each show, this started in about 2011. But for like about most of his shows for most of the time was on the air, except for his more current stuff, was like 2 to 3 hours long, and he would set aside the last half hour of the show for callers, which was called Radio Graffiti. And I actually have a T-shirt that he sold a couple years ago that actually has a Radio Graffiti design on it. Actually, I think I posted a picture of it in here once. But anyway, yeah. So he would take callers, and that's where if you look up just like Ghost Politics or Ghost Radio Graffiti on YouTube, there are hundreds of videos with clips from that kind of stuff, and like people would make like that's where like the whole like remixes of like Blog Talk Radio host things started. Like a lot of the people who make those started out making remixes of Ghost.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I've only heard that Radio Graffiti was probably like right next to Ghost's rants. That was like probably the best parts of his show.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Like once in a while he would take calls in like the main portion of the show, and like people were expected to discuss the actual like segments and the topics he was discussing, but at the same time like some people would just troll during that point as well as Radio Graffiti.
Whew. Yeah.
All right, so it's about 11 o'clock where I am, and I do gotta get up at 5:45. So I intended this to be kind of a shorter episode anyway. Anything else that I might want to talk about?
No.
Okay.
Nah.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, so we can wrap it up kind of early. I mean, this was like sort of like this was sort of like a kind of a shorter episode anyway. Just wanted to like touch base with everyone, and hopefully this weekend, if you know, we could get another show going, maybe after a Joe Gibson, and Ken, if you want to, we can do another episode after one of your shows. So sometime later this week, if not during the weekend, we could do another one.
Okay, sounds cool to me.
Awesome.
Understood.
All right, good stuff. So with that being said, this will conclude this evening's Inner Circle Radio. Thanks for joining us.
Good